Alright, today we have a brand new interview with the developers of Resident Evil Requiem, including the game's director Koshi Nakanishi and the game's producer Masato Kumazawa, where they talk more about Requiem's changes, why there's no Ada Wong, the new minigame that's going to be releasing very soon, and that mysterious wedding ring that shows up on Leon S. Kennedy's finger. So, let's talk about it. Alright, starting off first with the huge sales milestone for Resident Evil Requiem. Since the game's launch in February, it has sold over 6 million units, making it the fastest selling Resident Evil game in history. And it is greatly deserved in my opinion. That is a Game of the Year contender for me. I had a blast playing it. I can't wait to visit the DLC in the future to see what they've got planned, but Capcom just seems to be on a run, and that includes the recent release Pragmata, which in the course of 2 days managed to sell over 1 million copies. Now granted, it's a Capcom game, but it's a brand new IP, and for a game like that to do really well with reviews and have good word of mouth, and then that equates to sales, is pretty cool. And it's fun because Pragmata is a phenomenal game. Potentially another Game of the Year contender for me. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm deep into it right now. And I love the gameplay loop. I love the dynamic between Hugh and Diana. Pragmata is a video gamey-ass video game, and I love that. It is so much fun. And the director of that game, turns out, is a first-time director, and he absolutely nailed it. But moving over to the interview with the developers of Requiem, this comes to us from Den Faminico. However, we're using translations from Genki over on Twitter. Starting off with the game's original concept, which was just Leon in Raccoon City. They go on to say, "The initial concept for the project was Leon in Raccoon City. However, we thought that alone wouldn't be enough to create a compelling horror experience. So by fully developing Grace's part, which was originally only planned to be a supporting role, it became a dual protagonist structure." Which I think is the right move. Again, the developers and myself have mentioned, in the past that it's really hard to make a scary horror game with a character like Leon S. Kennedy who can handle pretty much anything. So you don't really have those horror vibes there. So you have to inject a little bit of new blood, which is where Grace comes in. And the fact that they took a brand new character, made her so likable, again, the performance from Angela Santalbano is phenomenal. I think and I hope she's going to get nominated for her performance at the Game Awards and maybe the BAFTAs. Does a lot of help. And Nick Apostolidis as Leon is incredible as well. The arc that Leon goes on, we'll talk a little bit more about later, but even the developers were like, okay, can we make horror, which is its own campaign, mix with a campaign that is primarily action? We don't know. Turns out it works. And for a lot of us, going back and forth between those two genres, I think really is the right call. The game was phenomenal. I loved Grace. I loved Leon's sections. There are some moments with Leon that I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this could have been shortened. Specifically when you go into Raccoon City and have to find all of the parts for, I think it's a relay signal. That was the only section of the game for me where I'm like, okay, we could have shortened this just a little bit because you're going through a lot of the same dark, post-apocalyptic environments, and it kind of overstays its welcome just a bit. But once you get past that, the game picks up immediately. And Grace has been very well received. I would love to see her come back in a future sequel. I don't know how you do it because now she's not a full-fledged action hero like a Leon. She still gets scared. She, has been through a life-changing experience, so she's not going to be as easily scared as she was at the beginning of Requiem. So if they do bring her back, I'm curious to see how they handle her character growth. Up next, Leon is married, which took the internet by storm. But it turns out the original plans for that weren't really all that grand. Koshi Nakanishi goes on to say, "I thought that it was simply meant to portray Leon's change as he got older, and in the conclusion of Requiem, the identity of his partner isn't important, but I guess it didn't go like I thought, right? If we'd emphasized it in that scene, it would have overshadowed everything else, especially for Leon fans. So I intended it to be something that you'd only notice later, like, if you look closely, he's wearing a ring." Which is how I took it when I saw that moment. I'm like, oh, Leon's married, and that's where I left it. My brain didn't go, ooh, I wonder who he's married to, because I didn't think that was the focus. The focus is like, oh, Leon is married. That means he found some sort of normalcy in his life outside of Umbrella, outside of bioweapons, outside of fighting constantly. There's something in someone that he has to go back home to, someone he can fight for, which I thought was really beautiful. He, has his issues, obviously, with the trauma of Raccoon City back in '98, but there's just something there that kind of grounds him. And I think that's really pretty beautiful and a really great aspect of his character growth. So to me, it doesn't really matter who he's married to or who his partner is. It's just the fact that he found somebody. I think it's pretty awesome. But that also makes his story arc even more heartbreaking, because in this game, Leon has Raccoon City Syndrome Stage 3. You learn in the game, there's no coming back from Stage 3. You get Stage 3 and it's a one-way ticket, which makes what Leon does in this game even more heroic. This is a one-way mission for him. He knows he might not make it out. He probably won't make it out, but he's going to take whatever time he has left and try and help people, protect people, do the right thing. Maybe find a cure, but his goal is just to do good, because that is who Leon is. And maybe by doing good there, he not only helps Grace, but maybe he helps his partner back home, helps protect them. But of course, the internet is going to internet. And I have to preface this. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, but I've only recently kind of explored the Resident Evil community, and it's very similar to the Final Fantasy VII community. Oh my God. The shipping is insane. And I do want to preface this by saying, I'm not a shipper. I've never shipped before. It's not something that interests me at all. It does absolutely nothing for me. When I play a game or watch a movie or a TV show, I'm taking it at face value, essentially. I'm absorbing the story, the characters, the relationship dynamics as it's presented to me. And then, going further based on that information. So I'm not someone who's like, I need to see this character with this character or that character with that character. That's not important to me. But there's been a lot of people online who are like, Leon has to marry Ada. It has to be Ada, or he has to be married to Claire. And for me, it's like, again, the whole point is to showcase Leon's growth and the fact that he has something to fight for. And when it comes specifically to Leon and Ada, I don't need to see them together, which is going to anger some people, I know. But for me, I think what makes the Leon and Ada relationship work is the will they, won't they trope, which you see a lot in storytelling. Film and television will have two characters that clearly have chemistry, clearly like one another, but for whatever reason, they don't get together, or they get really close to getting together, and then they pull apart. It's something that is a hook to keep audiences engaged in a story, in a TV show, in the characters. And I think that's why Leon and Ada's relationship works so well, is because they're in the will they, won't they trope. That, I think, is the core of what their relationship is. They're two people that clearly have an attraction, but they're so different that I don't think they could ever be together. And it's probably best to keep it that way, because oftentimes in storytelling, when you do the will they, won't they trope and you go through with the, oh, they will, sometimes your story can fall apart. The chemistry disappears, because it's like that line from The Dark Knight from the Joker. I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do if I caught one. It's basically that. So they do the will they, but they don't really plan ahead from there. So again, I don't really need to know who Leon is coupled up with. It's just the fact that he has somebody and has something to fight for. I think that was the whole point of that part of seeing Leon put the ring on his finger. Now, speaking of Ada Wong, there ain't no Ada in this game, or Claire, or Chris, or Jill. Why is that? Nakanishi goes on to say, during development, of course, various characters' names came up, but quite simply, within the story of Leon and Grace in this game, there weren't really many opportunities for her to appear, or rather, there weren't any scenes where it was necessary. Masato Kumazawa then chimes in by saying, during our discussions, we did talk about wanting to include that character, but because we were so satisfied with how Leon and Grace's story turned out, that was the decision we made. Which I think in regards to Ada probably was the right choice, but my mind can't help but wonder, we're going back to Raccoon City, baby. This is a place that's important to Leon, to Claire, to Chris, and Jill. Part of me really was hoping that a Jill or a Claire would show up, because I want to see how they're affected by all of this. If Leon has Raccoon City Syndrome and someone like Hunk has Raccoon City Syndrome, then what about Chris? What about Claire? I don't know about Jill, because Jill has already been infected, she was cured, she's also been experimented on by Wesker, which kind of changes her physical makeup. She doesn't age like the other characters do now. But I'm curious as to how the others are handling it. Does Chris have Raccoon City Syndrome? Did Claire have it? So that kind of was a missed opportunity, but then again, adding in extra characters, you do risk overstuffing the story and kind of missing out on what the core is. This is a story about Leon going back to the place that haunted him, that started everything, and he meets Grace. And I think he sees a little bit of himself in Grace because she is going through the same thing that he went through all those years ago. And now they're going through it together, and how they both handle the monsters, the life and death situations, the trauma, I think is what the core of this story actually is. And they learn quite a bit from one another. So I think sticking with those two probably was the right choice. But I feel like the DLC, that's fair game. Anyone could show up in that one, which is where we might get more Leon and Ada stuff, who knows? They also talk about how they designed the Raccoon City police station and how they designed it with the intention of knowing that there would be players who have zero attachment to that location, and they would just go through it for story stuff and then get out of there. But they also designed it so that way the people who do have an attachment, whether it's the original RE2 or RE2 remake, could actually appreciate all the little details. And that's what's crazy. There are people who are brand new to Resident Evil. Maybe their first Resident Evil game was RE2 remake. So that's what, 7 years ago? So for those people, that game has now become nostalgic. So when they step into the RPD and Requiem, that's gonna hit them. But for people like myself and maybe people who are watching this video who were there from the beginning with OG RE2, it's gonna hit even harder. And when I stepped into the Raccoon City Police Department and the music from the original Resident Evil 2 started playing, you could hear like echoes of it. I thought that was phenomenal. It gave me chills being in that environment again and hearing the old RE2 music, not even the music from the remake, the original RE2, seeing that there was a zombie still walking around and Leon puts him out of his misery and like says something nice. He goes into the RPD office and sees Marvin's sign and the welcome signs and has that really beautiful line of something like, Officer Branna, Leon S. Kennedy reporting for duty. I got hit in the feels there. And to know that that is a place that still sticks with Leon and is affecting him, I thought was really well done. I loved being in that environment, seeing all the Easter eggs, all of the little side quests that you could do, finding the photo of Rebecca that Wesker had, some of the stuff that Barry left for the other members, seeing tofu pop up in some areas. I thought it was very well done. So the fact that they took into consideration, yeah, some people might not care, but the people that do will put stuff there and make it work for both. I think that's brilliant. And finally, we have more teases for that new minigame that should be releasing relatively soon in the month of May. Koshi Nakanishi says, for those who have cleared the main game and are thinking, I still haven't done enough rampaging yet, I think you might enjoy it and go, whoa, so please sharpen your tomahawk and wait. He also says that the minigame will be a single-player game and will be unlocked after clearing the main game. So whatever this mode is, you're gonna want to finish the game first to unlock it. A lot of us are assuming it's a mercenaries mode, which is what I hope it is, because I really loved the gameplay in Requiem. It took me a minute to warm up to Leon's controls and find where I was comfortable, but once I found that comfort zone, I'm like, all right, the weapons can be really fun, the enemy variety is a little lacking in some areas, but I just wanted to keep doing cool stuff with Leon. So I'm hoping that's what it is. I hope it's a merc mode that allows us just to jump in and do all the cool combat and gameplay stuff. If there's a bigger cast of characters, I'm really curious to see how they change up Grace's gameplay, because she was on the more timid side. She wasn't super aggressive in her combat. She does have moments where she'll kick a zombie and whatnot, but I'm curious to see like what special abilities, melee attacks they give those characters, should it be a mercenaries mode that ends up releasing in the month of May. So all in all, pretty fun interview, getting some tidbits on the Leon wedding ring, what it was originally supposed to mean, how it kind of spiraled out of control on the internet, because let's be honest, that's what the internet do. I thought was pretty fun. And again, one of the things I really appreciate about Requiem is that it really took the story and its characters as seriously as a Resident Evil could. RE isn't always known for being deep and philosophical. It can be really cheesy and hokey, but it can also be very heartfelt. And I feel like that's what this game was. The journey that Leon goes on, knowing he might not make it out, but he's gonna do what he can to help, seeing the growth of Grace, how she has this moment in the game where everything just comes crashing down, everything she fought to protect is gone and murdered. and she has that crisis of confidence and doesn't know where to go. But then eventually reuniting with Leon and finding that resilience and her becoming this much stronger character by the end of the game, I think is really inspiring and motivating. And I've mentioned this in a previous Final Fantasy video, but when you consume a piece of media, whether it's a game or a TV show or a movie that inspires you to want to be a better person, I think that's super cool. And I think that that story has done its job if it gives you that feeling. Which maybe it's not that deep, but that's how I view it. With that being said, that's the video. I am Curious Corduroy. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of what we discussed in today's video for Resident Evil Requiem. What were your thoughts on Leon being married? And what do you hope to see from Mercenaries mode, should that be the mode that we get? I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.